All right, next we're going to talk about multiplying polynomials which have more than one term. This polynomial, x minus 7, is called a binomial. The same way that a bicycle has two wheels, a binomial has two terms. One of the polynomials we saw last time was minus 6xy squared. That would be a monomial. Monomial, like a monocle, which is a single thing that goes over a person's eye, sort of like glasses. It's an old-timey thing. But it means one. So this is one term. An easier way to think about it might be that a monomial is sort of like a unicycle. It's got one wheel. A binomial is like a bicycle. It's got two wheels. And this is a binomial also, and this is a binomial also. But this one is a trinomial because it's got three terms, like a tricycle has three wheels. So the term polynomial is sometimes used to refer to any of these, and sometimes used to refer to something that is not one of these, but is more terms. So any of these would be polynomials, but if you have a polynomial with 4 or 6 or 8 terms, that would also be a polynomial, but obviously it wouldn't be a binomial or a monomial or a trinomial. When we have these, we can see that we have x minus 7, x plus 3. See how there's a plus or a minus sign in the middle? This indicates that we are going to multiply using another method. So we need to multiply this x times the x and the plus 3. Like this. Then we need to multiply the minus 7, not just the 7, remember the sign, by the x and by the plus 3. But for some reason, students sometimes look at this and think, well, multiplying monomials are so easy, I'll just multiply the x times the x and the minus 7 times the plus 3, and that will be my answer. That is wrong every time. Every time. It's only wrong every time. So we have this acronym that helps students remember that you get 4 terms. We call these first times first, outer times outer. So if you imagine this is a rectangle, the 3 and the x are the outer part, plus 3x. And notice you're taking this sign when you do that. Inner times inner, minus 7 times x is minus 7x. And then last times last is minus 21. Notice we got middle terms here, and those are correct and should always be in there. We never want to skip those middle terms. Okay, so now we want to combine like terms like we learned earlier in this lecture series. Plus 3x minus 7x is minus 4x. So we get x squared minus 4x minus 21. Right, this cannot be simplified because there are no like terms, thus this is the answer. Many students are great at this. They know, oh, it's a trick to think you have to get x squared minus 21. I know there's some more terms in there and they're great at these. But as soon as I give them a polynomial that has 3 terms and ask them to multiply it by a polynomial with 2 terms, they're not really sure what to do. Well, note that when we had a binomial times a binomial, we had 2 terms and 2 terms, we got 4 terms. So if we have a binomial times a trinomial, that's 2 terms by 3 terms, that's going to be 2 times 3 or 6 terms. So we should get 6 terms. And this is one way to do it. So I'm going to multiply the 2a times this entire polynomial. Then I'm going to multiply the 3 times this entire polynomial. So I like to actually back up a little so I have more room. 2a times a squared minus 6a plus 1 plus 3 times a squared minus 6a plus 1. Now there are a lot of terms here, so it is worth your time to double check when you're doing these. It's easy to drop a sign or to multiply a 6 times 1 when it should be 6 times 2. It's really easy to do. So now we're going to multiply the 2a times each of the terms in parentheses. Then we're going to multiply the 3 times each of the terms in parentheses. And when we do that, we will drop the parentheses out. We've used them up as soon as we do that. 2a times a squared is 2a cubed. 2a times minus 6a is minus 12a squared. 2a times 1 is plus 2a. Notice this is plus and this is plus, but I have to write the plus. I can't just do this, or later I could look back at this and think I'm supposed to multiply. So remember to write your signs in there. You'll also notice between steps I always write an equal sign. For some reason, some students never do this. This is a bad plan. Always write an equal sign between steps that are equal. This allows you, when you look back at this a week later, to remember what you were thinking. All right, now let's do the second part. Plus 3 times a squared is plus 3a squared. Plus 3 times minus 6a is minus 18a and plus 3 times 1 is plus 3. All right, do we have any like terms to simplify? This one and this one are like, and then this one and this one are like. And the other two I'm simply going to copy over. So I've got 2a cubed minus 12a squared plus 3a squared is minus 9a squared plus 2a minus 18a is minus 16a. And then we copy over the plus 3. All right, and this is the answer. None of these are like terms and cannot be added any further. So I'd like to do one more type of product before we close this video out, because it's very similar to the one that was here. Suppose that we are supposed to find the product of p minus 4 squared. Now this is not equal to p squared minus 4 squared, just so you know. That's a common error that students make. But since it's a binomial that's squared, this is really the same as p minus 4 times p minus 4, isn't it? And for most students, the easiest thing to do is just write this out and then use the FOIL method just like we did on the last problem. So this is what I recommend. We're going to multiply the p times the p, then the p times the minus 4. P times p is p squared. P times minus 4 is minus 4p. Then the minus 4 times the p and the minus 4 times minus 4. Minus 4 times p is minus 4p. Minus 4 times minus 4 is plus 16. We have like terms here, so we're going to get p squared minus 8p plus 16. Some books suggest that you, and this is the answer, suggest that you memorize a formula for this. I couldn't think of a bigger waste of time. Why not just write it out as a binomial and then use that same method we already know that already works? All right, let's do one more of these just to make sure we've got the idea down in a little more complex situation. When we see a binomial squared, we say, oh, there's my bicycle, 1 term, 2 term, 1 wheel, 2 wheels. So I know what to do. But what happens if we have a negative sign in front? Minus 2y plus 1 squared. So if we are to find the product, or another term for that is multiply, those are the same set of instructions, then I'm simply going to copy down my minus, and then I will multiply out my 2y plus 1 squared. Let's see how that works. So again, we're going to use the FOIL method. So first times first, outer times outer, inner times inner, last times last. I copy down my negative sign and my parentheses. 2y times 2y is 4y squared. 2y times 1 is plus 2y. Remember, don't do that. Got to put a plus sign in there. And then 1 times 2y is plus 2y. And 1 times 1 is plus 1. Now the opposite of all of those will be taken. So I'm going to combine two steps at once. These are my like terms. So minus 4y squared is minus 4y squared. 2y plus 2y is 4y. The opposite of 4y is minus 4y. And then minus times 1 is minus 1. Notice that, and this is our answer. Notice that we multiplied the minus 1 times each of these terms. No matter how many terms there are, we always multiply that thing in front of the parentheses times each and every one of them without skipping any.